Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Brandon here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Spencer, and he's selling his Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Spencer, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's really great to have you on the call, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you about this business you've created. But before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of the business. So it is an Amazon FBA business in the survival and security niche, created in November 2016. The average monthly revenue for the business is $34,446 per month and makes an average of $9,233 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit the empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 47213 to learn more about this business or place a refundable deposit to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's talk about what's included with the sale. It's the Amazon Seller Central account with 7 SKUs, the primary domain and all site content and files, 2 additional domains used as 301 redirects, a trademark, and it is worth noting that inventory is not normally included in the list price, and further details can be provided to active depositors, and also that the U.S. Amazon account will be included in the sale, and any EU or European Amazon account listings will be included as a listing transfer as per the EU regulations require. So, Spencer, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, sure. So I've actually been selling online for about 17 years. I started when I was in college just selling different products online, mainly like shoes and apparel and stuff like that. And then probably I did that kind of off and on with some regular jobs and that sort of thing for about 10 years. In about 6 or 7 years, I started getting back into really trying to sell a lot more online, like with private label and stuff like that. I was kind of learning how to source products from overseas. And so I kind of started basically, private labeling maybe 6 or 7 years ago and really started having some success maybe 3 or 4 years ago with it. That's kind of the simple background. I started, I still had another job and actually ended up quitting that job a few years ago and just have been doing it full time ever since.
Now, where was it that you got the idea to get in this specific niche in the survival and security niche? Was there something that kind of popped up while you were doing some research on, market trends, or was there something that kind of stood out to you during the whole process of your, past experience?
I actually had launched a few different products and kind of was getting a feeling for what was working and what wasn't. And I found this niche just kind of honestly just kind of clicking around on Amazon. And I found that it was kind of a niche that was a little bit underrepresented in terms of like a good seller going in there and optimizing a listing and creating a product that, wasn't just had some improvements to basic existing products that were already out there. And from there, I just basically took it and kind of ran with it. I still had some other products that I was kind of working on at the time and ended up just kind of ditching those products because I was just having a lot harder time getting them to get a lot of traction. In this niche, again, it was kind of underrepresented in terms of good sellers. So I was able to have some success pretty early on with my products in this niche and just started launching new products and started focusing only on this niche and this particular brand.
Now, so how does the business primarily make money then? Is it all coming from Amazon FBA, or do you have like a Shopify or an e-commerce store within the primary domain as well?
I do have a Shopify store. It doesn't get a lot of traffic because I don't really try to drive traffic to it. So 98 probably +% of the business is on Amazon. All the products are FBA, so fulfilled by Amazon. And that's just kind of how it's been. There might be some opportunity to build out the Shopify store and start building more traffic. I shouldn't say build out because it's already there. It's existing and it looks pretty good. It just doesn't really have any traffic going to it right now.
Oh, that makes sense. So why choose this specific business model with FBA? Why wouldn't you decide to maybe even go into just strictly e-commerce or maybe even, something with more along the lines with your Shopify store instead?
Well, I just found that the flywheel is so much easier to get going on Amazon opposed to really trying to drive a lot of traffic to my site. Amazon's already got the customers built in and they've got their credit cards on file and they're ready to buy and they've got that trusted name. And I'm able to launch products on there pretty easily because I can use their sponsored ads like the pay-per-click advertising that's built in and really drive traffic to my listings pretty much from day one and not have to really, try to drive traffic to an external site. So I just found that it was a lot easier to do it that way. And that's where all my focus has been. I could have maybe from the start tried to do several different things, but instead I just decided to just focus on Amazon.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And, so why is it that if the business is doing so well now, Spencer, why is it that you're deciding to sell the business at this time?
Well, I'm ready to kind of explore some different opportunities that have come up in the real estate market in my area. I've actually got another business as well, but it's not related to this one at all. And I'm going to probably put some of the cash towards that as well and then explore the real estate opportunities.
So, is there anything that you learned during this time of, running and managing this business that you plan on applying to your future businesses or your future sites down the road?
I mean, absolutely. There's so many different things I've learned. A lot of it has to do around like cash flow and projecting my revenues and my expenses in the coming months, because that's kind of what this business, you really rely on your inventory. You got to be in stock and you've got to have the cash on hand to basically get those production runs started in a timely manner, because it does take some time for things to get produced and landed at the Amazon warehouse. So really just planning from an overall planning perspective, instead of looking at day to day, and just looking at sales like every day, you really have to be planning 3 or 4 months ahead. And so that's really, I've really learned a lot from that perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely. Always keeping your eyes further down the road instead of what's kind of going on, in the day-to-day tasks, as you mentioned, is really important, especially when it comes to Amazon FBA. And as, logistics take time to get ordered and shipped and the money start coming in, you definitely have to have a plan for those times when you're kind of waiting on that revenue to come in. Now, so where does the majority of your traffic come from then? I know you mentioned a little bit about Amazon PPC. Is the majority of your traffic coming from more of the organic side of Amazon, or are you also getting a large number of traffic from the ads as well?
Well, yeah, I get a lot of organic traffic. My listings, they all have a lot of organic traffic now. At first, I really rely heavily on PPC when I'm launching a product. But now PPC, I'd have to look at the numbers, but it's a relatively smaller percentage of the overall sales are generated from pay-per-click ads. Most of it now is organic, and I've got a lot of reviews on my products now. For at least 3 of them, I think, have over 100 reviews, or one's right at 100, and the other 2 are well over 100 reviews. I think one is over 600 even. So I've got a lot of reviews now, and that's a big help when it comes to conversion. And I've got those, the keywords that have been basically, gaining me traction for a long time in Amazon's algorithm. So that's obviously really helpful when you start to rank for keywords and rank really strongly for those. So yeah, I mean, it's a combination of pay-per-click and organic, but I mean, definitely organic traffic is a big part of it now.
No, yeah, it's always good to hear. And, building up those target keywords as, time is going on that you've been running this business is always important as well. So, can you describe some of the other forms of marketing that you're doing for the business? I noticed you don't have an email list or any social media profiles. Is there any other marketing that you're doing aside from just what's going on in the background with Amazon?
I mean, I don't do anything else. And
Okay.
That's definitely an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I just haven't really ever been comfortable going outside of Amazon because it's just, like I said, it's just been my one focus, and that is definitely an opportunity. And it might be something that I've been slacking on or whatever you want to call it. But, Amazon has been a good way for me to make a decent profit in this business. And I just really haven't felt the need or compelled to really go outside and build an email list. And I'm sure that there's somebody that could come in and do a great job at that. It's just not really my forte and just not something I've done to date.
Yeah, and as you mentioned as well, that's definitely a growth opportunity for a potential buyer to consider as well, looking at this during their due diligence process, see some low-hanging fruit that might be another opportunity to gain some extra traffic. Now, can you describe the process of how you're getting your inventory to Amazon themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, my inventory is shipped directly from my manufacturers in China. I have two main manufacturers I work with, and they basically produce the inventory and then I confirm it, and it gets all, obviously, I've got to approve it before it gets shipped, and then basically it gets shipped and labeled and everything and goes directly to Amazon's warehouse. And Amazon checks it in, and I don't touch the inventory. The only exception would be if I am launching a new product, I will have it delivered to I actually have a warehouse. It's not really a requirement. I just have one because of my other business, but you could get it shipped to wherever your location is if you want to launch a new product, or not. You could always get it inspected over there, but I've always had it shipped directly to me first when I'm launching a new product. So I can kind of just touch and feel it, the packaging, the product, and just kind of give it one more once over. Even if you do an inspection or whatever, I always like to have that, that contact with it before I initially launch it on Amazon, just to make sure that it's what I want it to be and it's the quality that I want. And so that is kind of the only exception, is when I'm launching a brand new product. Otherwise, it goes directly from my manufacturer in China and is delivered directly to Amazon, and then Amazon checks it in and it's in the inventory at Amazon.
That makes sense. And it's good, as you mentioned, especially when you're launching a new product, that you're at least getting your hands on it and just making sure the quality is up to par with your standards. So that's always good to hear. Now, hypothetically speaking, Spencer, if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways that you would personally try and grow it?
I think launching new products, and also, even though I'm on Amazon Europe, like the different 5 country sites over there, I need to get all my products over there because I think I've only got 3 over there right now, and definitely try to further optimize in, Amazon Europe and maybe some of the other country sites. Like I said, there's definitely other opportunities with new products to be launched. And it just, it takes some capital to do so. And that's always been, the challenge, with scaling an Amazon business, is you got to have the capital to do so. And, for me to launch new products, it takes that capital. And I just haven't really had it available to really launch as many products as I'd like to. So if I were to continue to run the business and I had more money maybe to do so, I would launch new products, and I'd definitely optimize things over in Europe a little bit better and get everything over there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely some room for improvement, even, some opportunities to grow as well. A potential buyer could also, invest a little bit of capital to get some gains from. Now, on the flip side of that, Spencer, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks a potential buyer should be aware of?
Well, I think there's, some platform risk with Amazon. We never know what Amazon could do in the future to change things for sellers as far as fees, storage fees. They might have some sort of new rule that affects, I don't know, different products. Obviously, there's, tariffs and things like that that could be down the line that we just don't know about or unaware of. There's always risks there. So, I mean, mainly the platform risk, I'd say, would be my main concern.
Yeah, that's a pretty common, answer as well for a lot of the Amazon FBA businesses. It's not necessarily anything associated with a risk, from the business itself. It's usually from Amazon and the platform themselves. So yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. Now, can you describe some of the typical weekly work that you're spending and doing, with the business currently?
Yeah, absolutely. So the business doesn't take a whole lot of hours in terms of, work every week. It's more of managing, the different things that, like reviews and the communication from buyers, which is very rare because Amazon does the customer service for the most part. But reviews and feedback, definitely monitor those things. And then the communication with the suppliers, making sure that everything is on schedule in terms of my production runs, and that my inventory is, in stock at all times. And I'm, doing those projections that I spoke of earlier in terms of, how much inventory do I have on hand? How much do I need to have? Planning for those different orders to be placed with the manufacturer in time to get them in stock, or so they don't run out of stock, I should say. Things like that. I mean, it's more like big picture stuff for the most part. The day-to-day is like pretty minimal in terms of workload. I mean, it's kind of as things come through, which is, I don't really receive too many messages from buyers. I do check the reviews and feedback. I check the sales about 100 times a day, but I mean, that's not really required. It's just something I do because I like to check the sales. It's, it's a bad habit, I guess, that I formed. So it's pretty minimal. I'd say an hour or two a week at the most. If you're launching a new product, it might take a little bit more time, obviously, to get the product designed. And of course, the communication back and forth would be a lot more during those times as well. But with these existing products, the workload is pretty minimal.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Essentially with, Amazon FBA being more of a front-loaded, business model where a lot of the stuff comes at the beginning, I completely agree with you on that. Now, do you think, there's any specific skill that a potential buyer should already have prior to acquiring this business? Or do you think it's, for the most part, something that can be learned or, picked up from, during the migration period?
No specific skills, really. Yeah, something that could definitely be learned during the migration period. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would require a specific skill at all.
No, that makes sense. And then, so Spencer, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning, the future businesses or sites that you start up, you'll stay out of this specific niche?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition you would like to add on?
I mean, definitely 30 days of email and Skype support. I mean, if needed, I could definitely stick around longer for that additional support if it's needed. I can't imagine it would be because, like you said, there's not a lot of special skills or anything, but I could definitely work something out if need be.
No, that's always good to hear. And then now, are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and then maybe some smaller payments to finish it off over the course of a few months after that?
Yeah, it's something I would entertain for sure.
And then now, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, Spencer, why do you think this business is worth buying?
Definitely the growth potential like that I spoke about earlier, and also just the steady and consistent sales, and the niche that it's in is kind of an under the radar type of niche. It's not overly competitive. And that's why I've always liked this niche. And that's why I kind of started scaling within this niche, because like I said earlier, I had other products that I'd launched in more competitive niches. And I really enjoyed this one because it is not as competitive. It's maybe a little bit easier to launch products. You don't have the cutthroat competition, but you still do have enough sales and volume and, obviously keyword search volume and things like that that you'd want in a business. It's a nice little niche to be in for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I can see that just from, doing a little bit of the research on my own in the back end and seeing, the potential this business has is always great to see. Now, just a few more sideline questions. Is there anyone who inspired you while you were building this business that our listeners might like as well?
For sure. The one person that I would say that inspired me the most was Ryan Daniel Moran. I watched one of his speeches at some conference on YouTube like years ago when I was kind of tooling around with private label and just doing things here and there and not really having a lot of success. And he gave a pretty good blueprint on how to launch products. And I was really inspired because of his success and how well spoken he was. And his formula back then was what I kind of initially launched with and was what inspired me to kind of really go at this full steam ahead.
Well, that's really great to hear. And then now, so, what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you started this business?
I would say try and find a niche like this one that I've been talking about, like my business, that is not overly competitive. Because I think that unless you just have a lot of money to not necessarily burn, but to basically spend on advertising, to spend on, your product launches and your initial inventory buy. I mean, you really need to have a lot of money to do that in a competitive niche. If you start in a niche that is not as competitive, but still has sales and still has volume and that sort of thing, then you're going to have a lot easier time succeeding with a smaller budget and with probably less SKUs. And you're probably going to have a lot higher success rate. So find a niche that is not overly competitive, that not everybody's doing. Don't launch the next garlic press or something like that, because it's just going to be so hard to succeed. I mean, you might come up with a great product that is better than everything else out there, but you're going to have a hard time getting it to the top of the search results. And that's what you want. And so find a niche or a product that you can get to the top, within your budget and within the initial inventory buy where you're not running out immediately and having to reorder, because that kills your sales as well. So you got to kind of find that balance.
Yeah, definitely. Really great advice there. Now, so, was there any, specific software or tools that you might have used or, even helped you at the start of growing this business?
I mean, years ago, and I still have the extension, but I used Jungle Scout I don't know that I necessarily I didn't find this niche or initial product that I launched within the niche in Jungle Scout, but it was interesting to see the different products that came through and to look at different niches and that sort of thing, categories with Jungle Scout with their, I can't remember what they call it. It's like their, not the Chrome extension, the actual software you log in and look at basically, filter out different things and that sort of thing. And then I do use Fetcher for like, basically, my sales data and kind of gives me an idea of what my costs and profits are and that sort of thing. Yeah, early on it was mainly Jungle Scout, and that's basically it.
Well, that's really great to hear. And, so what was it that drove you and motivated you while you were, growing and managing this business?
Having the faith, I knew I could do it. I knew that I could basically succeed, in the private label business because I saw other people doing it, and it didn't look like, they were necessarily any smarter than me or anything like that. And a lot of people were having success with it. And I just basically had to stick with it and find, out what worked and go with what was working and basically don't do the things that weren't working and learn from my mistakes. And I mean, I've just always had an entrepreneurial type spirit. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm okay to like fail a few times. If I believe in something, I'm not going to give up. And that's just kind of my mentality. And like I said, if I listen to a lot of podcasts, audiobooks and things like that, and it's always good to hear other people having success and surround yourself, even if you don't have people that you talk with that are in your friend group, at least surround yourself with podcasts and like other people that are, doing, what you're trying to do or aspiring to do. And that'll keep you motivated.
Definitely. Couldn't agree with you anymore. It's kind of what got me started as well, was listening to a lot of podcasts and hearing a lot of people in the space and just staying motivated, knowing that if they could do it, I know ultimately I could as well. So that's really great. Now, is there anything else that you'd like to share that I might have missed in this call, Spencer?
No, I don't think so. I think we pretty well covered it.
No, definitely. Awesome. Well, all right, everyone. So thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing is sold or to place a deposit, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47213. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And by placing a deposit, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.